Students, next we are going to know about adaptation of plants to water. Okay. So here lotus. Okay. Lotus is the one of the most common aquatic plants. The aquatic plants is nothing but the plants found in aquatic habitats such as ponds, lakes, rivers and seas are called aquatic plants. Okay, so here the leaves of the lotus are broad. Okay, all of you see here the leaves of the lotus plants are very broad and flat also, right? Okay, and float on the surface of water, right? Okay, so these plants are fixed to the bed of the pond. Okay, so the stem of this plant is very light and hollow. The broad leaves float on the water. Okay, and here stomata are present on the upper surface of the lotus leaf. Okay, so they have stomata on the upper surface. Okay, so the stomata help the plants to breathe. Okay, and the waxy coating on the leaves prevents them from getting wet in water. And here in the lotus, it is floating, right? It is a floating aquatic plant. So here air cavities present in the stalk of the flower and leaf help the plant to float. Okay. So likewise algae are very fine thread like plants which also float on the water surface. Okay. So there are other aquatic plants which are completely submerged in water. Okay, so they have very delicate shoots. Their leaves are thin and very fine. Okay, so these plants sway with the current of the water. Okay, so hydrilla is such underwater plant. Okay, so aquatic plants in a pond, aquarium and sea help to keep the water rich in oxygen during daytime. Okay, so here these aquatic plants body is flexible so that they can move with the water currents. Okay, so they do not have stomata to help them breathe. Okay, so they breathe through air spaces in the stem. Okay, so these underwater plants keep the pond clean. Okay, and help them to keep the water rich in oxygen during daytime. So students, this is all about adaptation of plants to water. Okay. Next we are going to know about adaptation of plants to aerial life. Okay. So adaptation of plants to air. Okay. How they are adapted to survive in air. Okay. So certain plants like the orchids are adapted to aerial life. Okay, so orchids is nothing but it is a kind of flower bearing plants. Okay, so plants like the orchids grow on the higher branches of terrestrial plants. Okay, so terrestrial plants that grow on land, right? Okay, so they have well developed root system. Okay, and here these orchids plants, they grow on the higher branches of the terrestrial plants. Okay, so orchids spread some of their roots to attach themselves on the branches of big plants. Okay, so all of you see here, this is branch, right? Branch of tree. So here roots of these orchid plant attach themselves to this branch of the another plant, and these orchids spread some of the roots to attach themselves on the branches of big plants. Okay, so while they're hanging, roots absorb moisture from air for nourishment. Okay, so they absorb, orchid plants or aerial plants absorb water content from air for their development or for nourishment. Okay, so this is all about adaptation of plants to aerial life. Okay, so students, in this class we have learnt about adaptation of plants to cold regions, adaptation of plants to water, and adaptation of plants to aerial life, right? If you have any doubts, questions, you should ask in online session. All of you should follow given worksheet. Thank you, students.